that pipe by keeping the peace and recycling your grease.
I'm very proud because before I started this job right here, I was homeless. I used to sleep under the bridge, and most of the streets that I'm cleaning up now, that's the streets that I used to sleep on. I'm thankful that they gave me opportunity. You know, it's changed my life tremendously. Like I said, I was homeless. You know, now I'm in the process of looking for a house to buy. Through this program, you know, I came over my addiction. Man, I'm so thankful. You know, I thank the staff at Good Source for giving me the opportunity, man. They helped me out tremendously. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Good Source staff and the city of Orlando. The most rewarding part of this job is getting up every day and trying to keep Orlando beautiful. You know, doing my part and making sure the community and the residents are happy with their areas are getting cleaned up, the streets are getting cleaned up.
Let's see.
What? Oh no! Flushable wipes! Trash it! Don't splash it!
I've been waiting for this for weeks. I gotta tell you, I am so ready to do this. I even have the bed ready.
What?
So when you get home, we can get really dirty.
Gotta go.
Hey!
Good morning and good afternoon. How about that? Tried a second time. And welcome to the November 12th, 2018 meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with the invocation offered by Senior Pastor Dr. Mark Crutcher of Mount Olive African and Methodist Episcopal Church. In 1881, 6 people gathered for worship at the corner of Paramore and West Robinson, and worship services and prayer meetings were held before the Mount Olive AME Sanctuary was built on West Church Street. In 1985, Pastor Crutcher entered the ministry of the AME Church and has served faithfully as the pastor of several churches throughout North Florida. Pastor Crutcher holds a doctorate in philosophy from Florida A&M and is the author of The Flaming Sword and Operating in Fulfillment of Divine Purpose, which were written to enrich spiritual growth and development. Mount Olive AME's mission is summed up in one word: reach up by loving God, reach in by serving others, reach out by changing the world. The invocation will be followed by the pledge led by Commissioner Gray today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. God, we come at this time to acknowledge that we're not all knowing. Therefore, we depend on you to guide our thoughts and guide our actions and be in the midst of our ways. And as we come together, we want to first honor you for being a wonderful provider of everything that we stand in need of. And we ask, oh God, that you would bring our hearts and our minds and our spirits together, that we would operate and make decisions that's best for the whole. Help us to see, God, beyond our own personal stuff, to see how to be a blessing to the whole kingdom. And help us to find a way to bring our hearts together more in a time when we are so divisive and so separated, so that our actions will bring us together in unity. And help us to find a way to share this nation that you have given to us in a way that brings honor and glory to you, in a way that lifts people up out of hurt, out of pain, and allow them to find the freedom and the blessedness in a way. And so for all of these things that you've done and going to do, we thank you and bless you and bless your people. And let us say, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bless you, whoever had the little sneezing attack. Madam Clerk, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would you call the roll and make a determination of quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan?
Here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Ings? Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is consideration of the meeting minutes from the agenda review and city council meetings, October 22nd. Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we have one award presentation and recognition, and that relates to National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. Marcia, would you do the honors?
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. It is an honor to be here to acknowledge National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. As we all know, in our city, homeless prevention has been a priority for this City Council and our mayor, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you today from the Coalition for the Homeless of Central Florida, John Hearn, who is President and CEO, and he'll give you a brief overview of the significance of this National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. And Mayor Dyer, after John finishes, if you would read the proclamation. John?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. As we recognize hunger and homelessness, I am really thankful to be part of a community that hunger and homelessness is important, and it is evident by the number of agencies in our community that focus on this topic of hunger and homelessness for us. As the CEO for the Coalition for the Homeless, just a few facts and things about this in our community. Last year, 1,127 people we were able to end homelessness for in our community. That came through the coalition, through the efforts of and the generous support of the City of Orlando and for our community. These are families and individuals who are now in safe and stable and permanent housing. Just a piece of what the community is doing in the area of homelessness, in the area of hunger. It is significant in our community and a significant focus of many organizations in our community. Every day, the coalition serves about 500 men, women, and children through one of our programs, and in addition, about another 100 or so people come through from the community that are unsheltered residents of our community. Currently, about 50 of the folks that are on our campus are veterans that get some special help along the way and special treatment in our work with veterans and homelessness. We have partnered this year with the City of Orlando to introduce a community health initiative. It provides showers and laundry and personal grooming to unsheltered homeless individuals. Since April the 4th, over 3,500 showers have been provided. Over 1,100 loads of clothing have been washed, serving over 800 people in our community. Again, those who are unsheltered, the normal sheltered folks in our shelter receive those regularly, but the unsheltered folks as well, really trying to enhance the community health in the City of Orlando. Homelessness certainly goes beyond the families that are directly impacted there, and it impacts our community as a whole. And it's received a lot of focus from both businesses and law enforcement, hospitals, as we work together. I'm thankful that we're part of a community that really collaborates together and really works together to try to solve these significant issues of hunger and homelessness for our community. Working together, we can and will solve these issues. We have great boots on the ground working in our community in a variety of agencies to do this, and I'm thankful to be part of that. We can and will solve these issues moving forward. We appreciate, Mayor, your support and the support of the City Council in helping us and other agencies throughout this community to really reach out and help address the significant issue of both hunger and homelessness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and I have a proclamation. Whereas each year, the month of November is National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Month, and the week before Thanksgiving is designated National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. And whereas the Coalition for the Homeless of Central Florida and the City of Orlando join with communities across the United States throughout the month to bring greater understanding and awareness to the realities of hunger and homelessness. And whereas the City of Orlando strives to end homelessness for all those in crisis, including the chronically homeless population, veterans, youth, and families. And whereas the Coalition provides food, shelter, and services to more than 500 men, women, and children on an average night. And whereas through a community-wide effort, the Coalition ended homelessness for 1,127 homeless individuals in Central Florida throughout the past year. And whereas throughout the month, the community is encouraged to wear purple and participate in volunteer and awareness activities, showing how each one of us can make a difference in the lives of our neighbors in need. Now, therefore, I, Buddy Dyer, Mayor of the City of Orlando, do hereby proclaim the week of November 10th through the 18th as Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week in the City of Orlando.
Thank you.
What a good-looking group. What a good-looking group. There.
One more. Okay, here we go.
Okay, let's go right into the mayor's update. And Commissioner Gray is a year older since the last meeting, and his birthday was on November 6th.
Sure wasn't Commissioner Ortiz? Not this one.
So we have a tradition of singing happy birthday to our commissioners, so if you'll join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Commissioner. Happy birthday to you. No speech from Commissioner Gray yet. We'll give him a chance. Last week, we welcomed Battalion Chief Ryan Glassford from Clark County, Nevada's fire department to Orlando. He was here to speak at a conference, but he was one of the he was the individual that was one of the leads tasked with coordinating the Family Assistance Center after the 1 October mass shooting in Las Vegas. And you'll recall that the City of Orlando sent Kathy D. and Craig Borkman out to assist them, and he was here to thank us for that and told me a number of stories of how helpful and significant it was to have Kathy D. and Craig out there. Kathy's here. Why don't you stand up and let's thank you again for going out. But one of the things we've been able to do as a city is virtually everybody that was involved in Pulse one way or another has reached out across the country to their contemporaries. So whether it's people that did hostage negotiation, or it was our first responders, or it was the people that helped victims afterwards, or it was the doctors. So we're paying it forward in terms of trying to help others that end up in an unfortunate circumstance. And certainly our thoughts and prayers are with those in Thousand Oaks, which had a nightclub shooting that brought, I know, painful memories back to a lot of people that were involved in Pulse. Is so eerily similar to be in a nightclub. So we have also reached out to their community, and of course they're also struggling with fires there in California. So let's just keep them in our thoughts and prayers and just take a short moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, this week, in addition to the proclamation we just did, this is Transgender Awareness Week, and it's a time to commemorate the achievements of our transgender community and the unique issues impacting their lives. And we're working with local organizations such as the Center and Bliss Cares and Equality Florida, to name a few, to support our transgender community. We've held a couple of town hall meetings that I've had the opportunity to attend to help the community understand how to change their legal name, their gender marker on IDs, and match their gender identity. And we've had meetings to educate the business community on transgender dynamics in the workplace. I have a group of mayors that I routinely converse with on just about a daily basis. And I guess it was a couple of months ago, I texted them and said, hey, guess what I'm doing today? I'm holding a transgender workshop town hall meeting. I bet you're not doing that today. So we want to make sure that everybody feels at home here in Orlando. And in fact, we are about to open an all-user multi-stall restroom in City Hall that will serve families with children of different genders, people with disabilities that may require the care of a person with different gender, or our transgender community. So if you want more information on events that are transpiring, go to cityoforlando.net. We set a goal in 2007 of being the most sustainable city in the Southeast United States, and I have self-declared that to be so, but Wallet Hub recently ranked the cities on sustainability, and they ranked 100 largest across 26 key green indicators, from greenhouse gas emissions to smart energy policies, and we were 28th overall in the country, but we were #1 in the Southeast United States, several spots ahead of Atlanta. So it doesn't have to just be self-declared anymore. That's objective third parties. Mayor City Academy has begun accepting applications for the class 2019. Go to cityoforlando.gov/MCA to apply there. We have, it's hard to believe that Thanksgiving is almost upon us, which means the Christmas season is coming, but I've already noticed that Christmas decorations are going up, and we're going up even before Halloween was over. So Friday, November 30th, we'll be at Lake Eola Park to light the Christmas tree. The event starts at 5 with food trucks and all types of holiday shopping, free photos with Santa from 6 to 8. Trinity Lutheran School Choir and the Orlando Concert Band will be performing. The tree lighting stage show will be narrated by Pastor Billy Brath. News 6 will be there for the official countdown at 8 o'clock, and there'll be a replay on News 6 at 11 o'clock. So again, cityoforlando.net /tree lighting for more information. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, because we will not have another council meeting before that. Now I do, since Commissioner Ings is not with us, my comments are a little longer than normal, but I do have several items on the agenda that I would want to mention. And first is item A3, which is our community investment program. We support a number of organizations that provide critical services to our residents. 39 community service organizations that work to meet the needs of our residents are receiving grants totaling $2.65 million, and I know that the audience is filled with representatives from those organizations. So if you'd all stand and let us recognize for the great work you do in our community every single day. Thank you. Also on our agenda today, we have affordable housing items, and one of our top priorities is to ensure that anybody that wants to call Orlando home has access to safe, high-quality housing. And there's a number of items on the agenda today to promote that. One is a funding agreement with the Village of Orlando to support electrical upgrades for 38 affordable units at Hope Square. There's an extension for work being done by ONIC to rehabilitate 126 apartments at New Palm Groves Gardens, a purchase agreement to convey formerly blighted property on Mercy Drive to Blue Sky Communities that'll transform that property into a vibrant community of 116 new affordable multifamily and permanent supportive housing units, and an MOU with HUD and the Orlando Housing Authority for the CRA to construct 41 new homeownership units at Carver Park. The Those are exciting. I think we're as progressive and out front on the affordable housing issue as any community in Central Florida and around the state of Florida, but it's important. Then lastly, I just want to take note of item B6 and CRA number 4, which is a pair of agreements with the Homeless Services Network of Central Florida that'll dedicate money for rental assistance for homeless individuals as they transition back to permanent supportive housing. Over the last couple of years, we have been able to house close to 350 chronically homeless individuals, but there's more work to do. With that, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our council members an opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda and update you on important happenings from their districts. We rotate the order that we do that, and today we're going to begin with District 1 Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Well done, team. Most of the items on the agenda today for me are on the hearing, so I'm going to just make a couple of quick announcements and thank the staff. As the summer is coming to the end and the weather gets a little better, 'tis the season for fundraisers and activities, and we've had a couple here, and I just want to thank our team. Starting with October 26th, we did our after-school All-Stars Golf Tournament, and it's always a great time. I think it was the 19th annual, and I just want to give credit to our after-school All-Stars team. They did a great job. Something I admire, they know how to throw a golf tournament, so that's impressive to me. And then on the 3rd, Commissioner Ortiz joined me and we did the ribbon cutting for the Curry Ford West Market Street District, which was quite exciting for the folks in Curry Ford and gives the retail merchants a shot in the arm to work together to kind of re-energize that. And so thanks to our staff for helping organize that as well. And then later that day, we went out to Lake Nona for a Relay for Life fundraiser for American Cancer Society, and our team was kind enough to, both from the public safety, police, and fire, to show up with the big hit was the pink-wrapped fire truck, which was a big hit, but we also provided stage and some other things. So thanks to our team for doing that. And then finally, Saturday, we had the Veterans Parade. Thanks to the Mayor's Veterans Committee and staff. You know, the one great thing about a parade, everybody's smiling, and after the last couple of months with all the craziness, it was good to see everybody in the crowd having fun, so that was a treat for me. So with that, I'll yield my time to Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, let me start by, there we go. Let me start by unmuting my mic. As the mayor very well said, let's keep the families and members of those in the tragedy of Thousand Oaks, California. I just happened to be in Los Angeles when that was happening, and right after that, next day, we had that huge fire. We could see that from the hotel. So, I know Commissioner Hill was also there, and Commissioner Ings, and so let's please keep those people in our prayers. California seems to be going through a lot lately. So, Thursday, November 1st. Our office had the pleasure to host and be part of the OUC Fall Into Savings Fest event at the Englewood Neighborhood Center. They were gracious enough to provide dinner for our constituents, as well as educate them on best practices for saving money and energy. I want to thank CEO, Mr. Clint Bullock, VP of Operations, Mr. Janice Brewer, and Ms. Roseanne Harrington, who was the VP of Marketing, and their staff. They did a great job. Our community really enjoyed it. And more than anything else, people are learning about sustainability, which is great. Right, Mr. Chris Castro? Where's Chris? Oh, there he is. I also had a chance while I was in California to talk about sustainability, thanks to Mr. Chris Castro, who gave me some keynotes to be able to talk about over there. There was a conference with the National League of Cities in Los Angeles, California. And that's where all the municipalities around the nation, they come together. And they pretty much come together on ideas of legislations and resolutions that they want to pass in order to take this to Congress. So they came up with this NLC Executive Summary of Policy and Amendments. Policy amendments and resolutions that was approved. And this will be taken to the U.S. Congress. If you guys are interested in seeing what's going on at the national level in terms of what kind of policies, there's 7 different levels of amendments and resolutions, and it's very interesting. He talks about everything and anything that has to do with our municipalities. There's a big, huge movement in terms of something similar to what we practice in the state of Florida, which is home rule. But we want the capitals and legislatures, the different capitals and the U.S. Congress to start paying attention to what the real needs of the people are. It seems like people forget once they get to those levels, and I'm not talking about all of them, but many of them, especially those who have never worked at the local level, what this is all about. And it's all about our people, it's about our citizens. That's where the real power of government lies. So these are resolutions and amendments that are being sent to Congress in order to change some of the things that are happening in our cities. So those of you that are interested, it's going to be posted on our website with the City of Orlando and also on our Facebook. So take a look, take a peek. In observance of Veterans Day, I'd like to thank all the members of our armed forces for their service. Not only that, I would also like to mention that on November 10th, that's a couple of days ago, the U.S. Marine Corps turned 242 years old. Hoorah! How many Marines we have here? How many family members? Oh my God, am I a lone Marine here? Oh, here we go. Our chief, where's our chief? It's a Marine. So anyhow, we turned 242 years old. So we're forever grateful for those who have served, everything you have done for our country, and the limitless amount of courage you have shown through your sacrifice. And this Thursday, November 15th, we'll be hosting a representative from our Public Works Solid Waste Division at our last Neighborhood Leaders Council of the year. We're excited to have them answer questions and inform our leaders about the city's waste management and how they can better utilize these services. The City of Orlando always showing their best. So thank you so much, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 3, Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me share a couple of things going on. First of all, happy Veterans Day today. We celebrate today, but yesterday, as you all know, is the 100th anniversary of the armistice of World War I. So it's one of those opportunities for us to remember those. In Veterans Day, it's designed to us to remember those not only who have fought for our country, but also those who have passed and are continuing to serve. So it's a chance to recognize all of them. So I appreciate those who have been involved in our armed services. And of course, as Commissioner Gray said, the Saturday was a great event. We love to be out there. I appreciate our staff and the work that they did to make it happen. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to spend some time over at the Orlando Science Center. We did the first thing we've done, the first time we've done this. We had a special Veterans Day event at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon in front of the Red Tails Museum. When we dedicated that 5 years ago, we had 5 representatives of the Red Tails that were there to be part of it. Yesterday, only one, 5 of them has passed away, and only one was there. It is a wonderful part of our history. And that we should never forget those who have continued to fight for our country. But they were there. They have a chapter here, but one of the actual Red Tails was there. We had a chance to visit with him, Sergeant Major Richard Hall. Let me cover a couple things going on since we're not going to get a chance to meet until well after my birthday. I'm sorry, Mayor. That just slipped out. I apologize. Coming up, the Festival of Trees is over at Orlando Museum of Art. It goes through the 18th. Jingle Eve is coming up on the 17th, and then we're going to light the holiday lighting of the holiday sign on the old OUC building over there on Lake Ivanhoe. That's going to be this Friday night. Please come down, be with us, and enjoy a drink with us after it's over. Shop Small Business Saturday is on Saturday the 24th. Remember our local businesses and remember how much is invested back into our community by our local businesses. And then, of course, Holiday on the Drive is coming up the 6th, and I'm certain there's others coming from different main streets in my district. I think Jennifer will probably tell us what's going on over there as well. So check my website out as far as that's concerned. 2 things I'd like to share on the agenda today. The first is that on item A3, congratulations to all of those who have been selected for our community investment. And let me just read this briefly so that it goes into the record. As you know, for many years I've served as the Executive Director of the Christian Service Center for Central Florida. The budget this year and for many years is to provide service from the council has included the funds to provide a grant to assist our Family and Emergency Services program. That amount is proposed for this funding is again $25,000. None of that money goes towards general operations of the Christian Service Center, but in order to remove any interference of conflict of interest, I'll be abstaining from this item A3, and I've filed paperwork appropriately with the clerk. So, And then next, one is kind of a special for me. Cynthia Smith, we were approving Cynthia Smith today. Hello, Cynthia. Yeah. So good to see you. As part of our After School All-Stars and working with curriculum and working to help that program. I'm so glad that we're doing that, and so glad you have been selected. It's one of my very favorite people from District 3. So, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 4, Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm really delighted to see that we are recognizing Transgender Awareness Week. I'm glad that I've been here long enough to see that happen officially at City Council, because there is a dignity and power in living your authentic lives, and it should not be a problem for anyone. So thank you for being here today. I also got a chance to ride in the Veterans Day Parade, and they matched me with a very conservative Republican, Vietnam veteran, and we had a wonderful time, and now I have a new Facebook friend. So Louis Forte, we had a great time together, and it's amazing when you really talk to one another instead of shouting at each other from the margins, when you find out what you really have in common. So I made a really good friend this weekend at Veterans Day Parade, and I'm glad for that experience and that opportunity. On the agenda today, I'm very happy to see on the policies and procedures that we are dealing with sexual harassment language. We're updating that, and also retaliation is prohibited as part of that process, so I'm very glad to see that. Item A3, some great community investment programs. Lighthouse of Central Florida, Victim Service Center, iDignity, Pet Alliance, and Zebra Coalitions are the ones that I work with very closely. And I know I left somebody out, but all great organizations. So thank you all for all the great work that you do in our communities. And a lot of people don't understand that when we do these tax cuts, that it impacts those in need the most. And then it impacts our city budgets and our ability to help you and assist you. So I'm very glad that we're able to continue to fill the gaps for community service organizations as well as art organizations, because that's so critically important in our community. Something that's really cool that's coming to my district, I can't wait, as on item C2 on BZA minutes, is the AIDS Healthcare Foundation is going to be opening an Out of the Closet on the corner of Mills and Virginia, which is going to be very dangerous because I can walk to it, but it's actually actually a place where people can donate upscale retail items, and it's sold to help fund the AIDS Healthcare Foundation program. So I'm delighted to see that moving forward. It's not built yet, but it'll be coming soon to the Mills 50 district, and I'm very, very excited about that. We also have facade grant, item C3 today, along Michigan Avenue. I'm so glad to finally see some facade grants coming to work on those strip malls. And what people don't understand is a lot of the new developments are too cost prohibitive for small businesses to locate in. So this is actually serving these smaller strip malls that really attract smaller businesses and give them a chance to start business, especially in my district along Michigan. So I'm really, really delighted to see that. And on transportation, on item J2, working to study the Orlando Urban Trail and all of our trail gaps to make sure that we have a seamless transition from the urban trail through downtown all the way to Orlando Health eventually. So I'm delighted to see this planning taking place so that we really do have a walkable, bikeable community. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 5. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. I also want to echo everyone's sentiments with the community investment programs and our investment. I'd like to thank you all for all your valid efforts. You really are where the work gets done. I call you the boots on the ground. So thank you for everything that you do for our constituencies.
Commissioner, is your mic on?
Hello? Hello? It's better. Did you guys hear what I had to say? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again. I am, as Mayor stated, we have so many housing initiatives here on the agenda today, and I'm especially excited about the work that staff has done over in many of the different areas, 5 and 6, but also in the CRA, the MOU that's we'll be voting on today with Orlando Housing Authority in the Carver Park area there of I think it's the southern side of Paramore, where hopefully we'll be able to build 41 new homes. The infrastructure is already in place, so this particular project is shovel ready. And when we think about the 15 single family homes that are currently underway there in that Paramore area, along with the Invictus project, where we're doing some multifamily apartments and townhomes. When you think about that, 41 homes and the one model home that is currently there, that's actually building a new community when it comes to affordable and market rate. So that's huge, and thank you, Mayor, for your continued support in these efforts. I know we've been working on that particular project there for 4 years, but I know that's been 10 years out, and it's finally coming to fruition. So thank you, Council. Most of you all have been here during those times, so I know you're especially pleased to actually see this happen at a time such as this. Also, C6, we're down on the north end of Paramore, where we have the Creative Village. There will be some market rate and some commercial, I guess, lower level buildings, what we call mixed use complex with that Creative Village development with the Usler Group. Glad to see that on council, but what I do want to see, hopefully Walter and Thomas, that we can start the dialogue with the Usler Group to where we might can get some set aside portions of that economic piece where the leasing portion is, to let them know more about our MEBA program. I know they're in the Paramore area where we utilize the MEBA program for minority and women-owned businesses. There isn't much occupancy right now. It's somewhat priced out. So hopefully there'll be some, looking forward to possible opportunities there in that Creative Village for maybe some small women-owned and minority businesses. It'll be great. I also would like to echo Commissioner Stewart's welcome to Dr. Cynthia Schmidt. She is a nationally recognized person when it comes to law, when it comes to black male achievement, when it comes to my brother keepers, when it comes to fair and equitable housing, when it comes to many of our equality issues. Dr. Schmidt has been a leading voice, and she's a steal. Not to mention, Mayor, that she is a Gator, which you might appreciate. I found that out looking at her resume. But words can't describe the passion of Dr. Schmidt and what a valuable asset she's gonna be, not just to Paramore Kids Zone, to many of our youth initiatives here in the city of Orlando. So I'd like to welcome you. I know you could be in any corporation throughout the United States of America and making well over 6 figures. So thank you for following your heart and doing what's right. We really appreciate you, and welcome aboard. I'm about to tear up. Let me clutch my pearls. And I'd like to also send a congratulations to our colleague, Commissioner Ings, that was in Washington at the National League of Cities conference with myself and Commissioner Ortiz. He was voted to be the 2nd vice president for NBC LEO, which stands for, it's the acronym for National Black Caucus Local Elected Officials. So he will be leading the nation, helping to lead the nation when it comes to many of the initiatives for brown and black communities through the nation. And we also, on November the 20th, we will be partnering, District 5 City Commissioner's Office will be partnering with Shiloh Baptist Church, Orlando City Soccer, Publix, and also Lee Wesley. We will be dispensing over 1,000 turkeys with trimmings there at that facility along. We'll also be stretching out to the Metro West Carver Shores corner of Metro Place and our Timberleaf community. So I'd like to thank them again for their 4 years of partnership to make sure those that not looking for handouts but looking for hand-ups will be able to share a meaningful and memorable Thanksgiving meal with their families. Of course, There will be the showdown in Old Town coming this Friday and Saturday. I think we will be in flux with over 70,000 tourists and different residents from throughout Central Florida and the nation for the annual BCU FAMU Classic. So we look forward to that event. It's always eventful, and there's heads and beds and a lot of money to be left behind here in our community. So there is something that we will be discussing on the council today, and it will be hearings about the sale of the Pepple Tree 1 and 2 redevelopment, and I will leave my replies for the hearing and make comments after that. I will be asking council to defer this item, and I will give you my reasons why after staff has presented you with their workshop. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ings, do I understand you've joined us? Nope. Guess not. Okay, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Ortiz or Commissioner Gray? Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by...
It's like 3:40 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan time, and I'm dedicated to Orlando, and I just want to...
We appear to be having technical difficulties.
It's in Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Are you gone, Commissioner Ings? Can't reply. Okay, motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. I had one other announcement, then you clap for all the funding that we did. Game day is going to be at University of Central Florida this week. How about that when they play Cincinnati? So we're going to be kind of the epicenter of college football with the Florida Classic and the Camping World Stadium, and then game day out at UCF. How about that?
Mayor, may I add to that we have not lost a game yet?
That is true.
Still
9-0 UCF versus 9-1 Cincinnati. All right. Everybody that got grants today can take that. And also, if you were just here for the consent agenda, now would be the opportune time if you would like to take your leave. We'll give you just a second.
Congratulations.
Commissioners, if there's no objection, I'm going to move to hearing item number 1. It's the refunding of some bonds, and we're going to be voting on that during the CRA meeting, so it would be appropriate for City Council to go ahead and take it up, the companion item, before we move on to the CRA. So we'll open a public hearing concerning the proposed adoption of a resolution approving the issuance by the CRA of not to exceed $60 million of tax increment revenue refunding bonds, Series 2019A. The purpose of the bonds is to refund for savings the agency's Series 2009A bonds and Series 2009C bonds, which were originally issued to finance a portion of the cost relating to the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts in compliance with Section 163.346 Florida statutes. This hearing was advertised in the Sentinel on October the 30th, 2018, and notices to the taxing authorities were mailed out on October the 23rd. Madam Clerk, would you read the title of the resolution, please?
Hearing number 1, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, approving the supplemental bond resolution of the City of Orlando, Florida Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the issuance and sale of the agency of its tax increment revenue refunding bonds, Downtown District Series 2019A, in an original aggregate principal amount not to exceed $60 million for the purpose of financing the current refunding of the agency's tax increment revenue bonds, Downtown District Series 2009A, and taxable tax increment revenue bonds, Downtown District Direct Subsidy Build America Bonds Series 2009C, providing certain covenants and authorizations of the city and other matters with respect thereto, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. I'm going to have Chris explain the purpose of the bonds.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So this is the public hearing for the resolution authorizing the CRA to issue Series 2019 bonds. Can you see this on your screen? Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So the City Council resolution approves the CRA's issuance of the bonds. The bonds are being issued to refund existing CRA debt, the 2009 A and C bonds, for debt service savings. We're doing this refunding through a competitive solicitation for bank loans. We went out and solicited bank loans and said, give us your best offers for lending rates, and SunTrust had the strongest bid through that solicitation. So this refunding, using that SunTrust refunding bank loan, will result in $11.4 million in debt service savings over the life of the bonds. That's $8.6 million on a present value basis. There's no additional debt being issued. We're not extending the final maturity. This is a true refunding of the existing debt. The savings will be used to fund future project DTO priorities. So instead of spending it on debt service to bondholders, we'll keep this savings in the CRA, and it will be reallocated for CRA purposes over the life of the bonds. And the Finance Committee and the CRA Advisory Board have both been briefed on this refunding. This is just a quick table that shows the savings that will be generated in the far right column. The blue column, in the first 3 years, almost $1 million a year in savings. And then in years 4 through the end, almost $600,000 in savings. Again, $11.4 million over the life of the bonds. There's a few things we have to do when we do tax increment revenue bonds required by Florida statutes. One is you as a city council must authorize the CRA to issue the bonds. That's what we're doing right now with this resolution. We also are required to issue notices to taxing authorities. So that's the city, the county, the school board, the water management districts, the library district, downtown development board. We did those notices on October 24th. We're also required to hold a public hearing, and this public hearing was advertised in the Senate on October 30th. So the requested action today is now, as the City Council, please hold the public hearing and adopt the city's resolution authorizing the CRA to issue the bonds. And then in a few minutes, as you're sitting as the Community Redevelopment Agency, you'll be adopting the actual bond resolution. Those are my comments. Thanks.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Do we have any cards, Madam Clerk?
No.
Commissioner comments? Hearing none, there was a motion by Commissioner Hill and a second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Okay, with that, let's, without objection, we will recess the City Council meeting and convene the CRA meeting. And I think I can handle the first three without your help, Thomas, but come on up. First is accepting meeting minutes from the Advisory Board of August the 22nd.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Second, our Advisory Board meetings from minutes from September 26th.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Just all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And then CRA meeting minutes from October the 8th.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, now down to some business. Number 4 is an amendment to the Downtown Relocation Assistance Agreement with Homeless Services Network. Thomas.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. As the Mayor just stated, number 4 is approving an amendment to Downtown Relocation Assistance Agreement with Homeless Services Network of Central Florida. Since January 2016, HSN has been implementing the CRA's Downtown Relocation Assistance Program, which of course assists chronically homeless in obtaining permanent supportive housing. This is the second amendment proposed. This proposed amendment extends the original timeline through September 30th, 2021, adds one additional fiscal year, and allows for 2 3-year renewal terms with a maximum annual funding amount of $500,000 a year, which remains unchanged from the past. It also provides for the funds to implement the program to be provided to HSN in advance on a quarterly basis. The advisory board has recommended approval, and unless there are any questions at this point, staff is requesting that the CRA approve Amendment 2 to the Downtown Relocation Assistance Program Implementation Agreement, authorize the chairman and executive director to execute Amendment 2, and authorize the city's chief procurement officer as CRA's agent to enter into subsequent renewals as provided in the amendment in the estimated annual amount of $500,000, subject to review and approval by the city attorney's office.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, the next one's the MOU that we were discussing with the Orlando Housing Authority.
Absolutely. Number 5 is approving the memorandum of understanding with the Orlando Housing Authority, reference to Carver Park. The Orlando Housing Authority received the Hope 6 grant to do a 3-phase project. The first 2 phases of that project, a senior tower, 64-unit senior tower, and a 56-unit multifamily apartment complex have been successfully completed. The 3rd phase of that, which offers some 83 homeownership opportunities, 42 of which fall within the CRA, was not completed. This memorandum...
Hold on 1 second, Thomas.
I don't think it's
Is
the
it somebody's
phone.
mic, or is it?
I don't think it's the phone.
Can you turn that off?
It's muted. I don't think it's the phone.
Something else. There we go.
Sounds good.
What was that, Ed?
Okay.
Okay, continue, Thomas.
All right. In order to enhance the CRA's effort to increase home ownership within the CRA, we've been working with the Orlando Housing Authority and have agreed upon this MOU. The MOU actually provides parameters within which the CRA and then the Housing Authority and HUD would move forward in a tri-party agreement in the next stage for a development agreement, dispelling all of the details of the project. The advisory board has recommended approval. And if there are no questions, staff is requesting CRA approval of the memorandum of understanding with the Orlando Housing Authority, subject to review and approval of the city attorney's office, and authorize the executive director to execute the MOU.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 6 is adopting the resolution by the CRA that we just adopted related to the refunding of bonds that we adopted as City Council. So there's a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 7.
Thank you, Mayor. And the final item, number 7, is authorizing use of Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, or GOA, contract with AC Signs LLC to purchase and install vehicular wayfinding signs. Back in 2010, the present wayfinding signs, teal-colored signs, directional signs, were installed throughout downtown, commensurate with the opening of Amway Center. Since then, there have been many changes, and wear and tear has occurred to some 89 signs throughout downtown. This agreement contemplates the enhancements of all 89 of those signs. Some additional signs will be added on an as-needed basis. Some will be replacements for signs that have been taken out by car accidents. The overall cost of the contract is $282,186.60, and we seek to, as we call it, piggyback on a GOA contract that has been previously used at Lock Haven Park. And in fact, this contract would allow our signs in downtown to become uniform with those signs that were just installed at Lock Haven Park, utilizing the same contract. Again, the advisory board has recommended approval, and staff is requesting CRA authorization of the Chief Procurement Officer to enter into a contract with AC Signs LLC based upon the attached scope and the GOA contract for the purchase and installation of wayfinding signs in the estimated amount of $282,186.60, subject to the review and approval by the City Attorney's Office.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thomas, further business?
There's none, Mayor. Thank you.
The CRA will stand adjourned. We will reconvene the City Council meeting. We move to the second hearing, disposition of Peppertree Shores and Peppertree Circle land parcels to Blue Sky Communities LLC for redevelopment. It's a public hearing for sale of city-owned land valued in excess of $500,000 as required by Chapter 13, Section 7 of the City Charter. Notice of the hearing was published in the Sentinel on November the 6th. And approval of this transaction will require a majority vote of all members of the City Council. Property consists of two parcels, the former Peppertree Shores apartment complex located at 1014 Mercy Drive and the former Peppertree Circle apartment complex located at 1471 Mercy Drive. The estimated fair value, market value of Peppertree Shores is $807,520,000. The estimated fair market value for Peppertree Circle is $568,560,000. And we solicited proposals for the redevelopment of the two sites, and I'm going to ask Brooke to present the results of the solicitation process. Brooke.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Today I wanted to walk you through let me figure out how to work this. There we go. Just a quick overview of some strategic acquisitions that we've made relative to affordable housing over the past couple of years, the current opportunity as it relates to Peppertree Shores and Peppertree Circle, details regarding the purchase and sale agreement that's before you today, and then staff's recommendation. As you'll remember, in March of 2015, the city acquired 7 properties from Fannie Mae that were boarded up and dilapidated. And we made this purchase under your leadership, Mayor, and the leadership of this council, because we wanted to make sure that these properties were ultimately redeveloped into the highest possible use to support affordable housing, rather than a renovation occurring that may not have been in the best interest of our community. In 2017, there were several more parcels that are located on the south side of Orange Center Boulevard that we weren't able to acquire in 2015 due to some legal issues surrounding those properties. And again, under your leadership, we were able to acquire those properties just last year and are moving forward currently with the demolition of the structures that are on those sites, and we'll be releasing this week another solicitation for redevelopment. As it relates to the initial 7 sites, we have 2 completed projects. Pendana at West Lakes is 200 mixed income units. It was completed in 2018. And also the Nichols site, referred to now as New Horizons, the Hope Church redeveloped that site and renovated it into 80 affordable units. It was also completed this year. We have several projects that are currently underway. Village on Mercy is at the location of what previously stood as Lakeside Village in Bordeaux. 166 affordable units, 50% of which are permanent supportive housing. It is set to be complete next year. Pendana Phase 2 has also broken ground. This site is being developed by Lift Orlando and Columbia Residential. It is on Orange Center Boulevard, 120 senior affordable units, and it will be completed next year. Other notable projects that I wanted to mention that were not included within this Fannie Mae acquisition but are worth noting, Paramore Oaks is underway. 211 mixed income units, completion of the first phase in 2019 by Invictus. Amelia Court is being developed by Atlantic Housing within Creative Village, 256 mixed income units with a completion date of 2019. And then Palm Grove Apartments is being done by the Orlando Neighborhood Improvement Council, Commission? Corporation, 142 units of affordable, and that rehab will be completed in 2019. So that leaves 2 remaining City of Orlando owned sites that are within this initial acquisition. These sites are located along Mercy Drive, and they are referred to as Pepper Tree Circle on the north and Pepper Tree Shores on the south. We have completed the demolition of the buildings that were on those sites, and that demolition was complete in 2017. We utilized a little bit of our lien fund, but most of that demolition cost, over $1 million, was funded through federal funds, our NSP and CDBG dollars. And this, again, we acquired these sites as part of the initial acquisition in 2015. The combined purchase price for these 2 parcels together was just a little bit less than $1 million. In 2015, along with the other properties along Mercy Drive and the Nichols site, we issued an opportunity to redevelop and solicited proposals from parties that were interested in redeveloping these 2 sites. Unfortunately, the proposals that were received in 2015 for Pepper Tree Shores and Pepper Tree Circle did not meet the city's goals for redevelopment of those sites, and in particular, one of the proposals received would have been for simply the rehab of one of the standing buildings, and again, we did not feel that that met the city's goals for quality housing. So, and again, in 2017, we moved forward with the demolition of those buildings to eliminate the blight that was plaguing that neighborhood, and then also to foster future redevelopment of these 2 sites. In April of this year, the city released an opportunity to redevelop solicitation for these 2 specific sites. Our goals were very similar to the other Mercy Drive sites, increasing the inventory of safe, affordable housing, increasing the inventory of permanent supportive housing, fostering community development to enhance the surrounding neighborhoods, and to recoup the city's investment in the purchase of the properties from Fannie Mae. The city received 4 responses this year for this solicitation, and these are in alphabetical order: Blue Sky Communities, Future Leaders Community Development Corporation, Vodum Construction, Sealy Consulting, Orlando Neighborhood Improvement Corporation, and Jonesboro Investments, and then Vestcor TVC Development. The proposals, as we've done with the prior solicitations, were reviewed by an advisory committee of city staff that included a group of representatives: Lori Botts, our real estate division manager, myself as economic development director, Kevin Edmonds representing the chief administrative office, Orrin Henry, housing director, and Michelle McCrimmon representing the chief financial office. We heard presentations from all 4 groups, and all proposers were asked questions during that presentation, after their presentations. And then as a follow-up, proposers were asked to complete a standard matrix in order for the advisory committee to better compare the 4% and 9% low-income housing tax credit proposals that were being suggested by each group, as well as any other funding sources that they were considering. All 4 proposers presented a 9% low-income housing tax credit as a potential funding source. Based on what we know of the LIHTC process for 9% tax credits and other priorities with the city, it was determined that it was not going to be feasible to move a 9% LIHTC application forward at this time, and we could not identify a time in 2019 that would be appropriate either. Blue Sky Communities, as well as Vestcor TVC Development, both proposed a 4% LIHTC sale as a potential funding source. Future Leaders Community Development Corporation later submitted a 4% LIHTC option. ONIC did not submit a 4% LIHTC option. This is a comparison of the, this is the 4% matrix for the 4 proposals. You'll notice that there's nothing in there for ONIC because they did not submit a 4%. They did submit a 9%. And this is the information that the committee used to evaluate the proposals. You'll notice that Blue Sky's land cost or land offering, their payment to the city that they offered to purchase the land, is $1.5 million. Vescor did not offer a purchase price, and FLCDC offered $1.25 million to be paid to the city over 20 years. In addition, as we expected with a 4% LIHTC application, it would be necessary for the city, in order to move a project forward, to close a gap associated with the difference in the tax credit value, other funding sources, and what the tax credits would yield. So each group was asked to provide us with a specific dollar amount of what that gap would be, again, so we could compare the proposals. Vescor was requesting a gap to be filled by the city of $2 million, FLCDC at 1.7, and Blue Sky a gap between $1 million and $2 million. After extensive review of the proposals, the advisory committee did determine that Blue Sky Communities' proposal aligned most closely with the city's goals and should be moved forward for consideration based on several factors: a higher proposed number of units between the two sites, a higher development cost, i.e. a higher investment being made in the two properties, a higher land payment to the city so that the city would better be able to recoup our initial investment in the purchase of the properties from Fannie Mae and better able to help close a gap associated with the tax credit application. Overall experience through Florida, focus on permanent supportive housing, and a timely schedule of development goals. I want to now move into the purchase and sale agreement that's in front of you today as part of the charter hearing. And the reason we would need to move into a purchase and sale agreement is because a party cannot make application for low-income housing tax credits without being able to show site control. And so this purchase and sale agreement, as we've done with a number of our affordable housing projects, closing is dependent on them being able to secure 4% tax credits as well as other funding sources. And I'd like to mention that the tax credit round for 4% tax credits is actually due November 27th of this year. So again, purchase and sale price at $1.5 million. They will seek funding from the city through our federal funds and other sources to supplement the Florida Housing Finance Corporation funding in an amount not to exceed $2 million. They will have a due diligence period that lasts until July 1st, 2019, and this is to provide them with the time necessary to secure their funding. The anticipated closing date of December 31st, or 6 months after approval of their tax credits, but no later than March 31st of 2020 unless extended by the parties. And this takes into account all the appeals that are traditionally filed as it relates to tax credits in tax credit applications throughout the state. After the effective date of the contract, Blue Sky Communities will be responsible for insurance for the land parcels. After April 1st and through the closing date, Blue Sky Communities will be responsible for landscape maintenance and maintaining any fences for the land parcels, so the city does not have to assume that cost. Just a notation, Blue Sky Communities intends to assign the contract to Blue Castle Orlando LLC. Also, the buyer, while this was not included in the original solicitation document that was put out earlier this year, the buyer has voluntarily agreed to make good faith efforts to meet the city's diversity goals to help foster the growth of MWBE city certified businesses, including 18% participation by MBEs, 6% participation by women-owned companies, with 24% of the aggregate monetary value of the general construction contract for the development being performed by city certified MWBE firms. The buyer will also create a community action plan to provide a roadmap to companies and to the local workforce in Central Florida that identifies opportunities and maximizes participation in the development, including business opportunities for MWBE City certified companies to participate in the project at all levels, as well as employment opportunities for the local workforce. And I should also note that these items are they are also included within, as provisions within the purchase and sale agreement. Through this process, the Chief Financial Officer makes an official recommendation to City Council, and in this case, our Chief Financial Officer, Chris McCallion, is recommending that the city enter into a purchase and sale agreement for Pepper Tree Shores and Pepper Tree Circle, authorization for the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement, indeed an authorization for the city's real estate manager to execute all closing documents necessary for the buyer to obtain financing through the closing date of this agreement. And should the buyer not secure development funding, the advisory committee will reconvene to prepare a new recommendation for council consideration. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions for Brooke?
We actually we have a whole group of people here on all fronts, so we're all available.
Say again?
We have all the representatives from Housing, CFO's office, CAO's office for any specific questions.
Commissioner Hill, then Commissioner Gray.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council.
Are you doing questions for Brooke, or are you?
I do have a few questions okay, yes, I do have a few questions, and then I'll wait and go forward. Do have Blue Castle Orlando LLC. It states here Blue Castle Orlando LLC, affiliated entity formed to own and develop the project. How long have they been in existence, or were they just formed for this project?
Blue Sky Communities and Castle have both been in existence. They are forming this partnership for this project.
Just for this project.
So our attorney
let me get clarity.
Yes.
Blue Skies Communications have been in existence for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Castle Orlando LLC just was formed for this particular project, to partner with this particular project with Blue Skies Communities, correct?
Correct, which is not.
That's all I need to ask.
Yep.
That they're recently formed for this project. I guess the other thing which I asked staff, and I understand the urgency of a possible vote, because we don't meet until after November 27th. But I don't think it's fair to council, nor myself, being the commissioner of that district, to be informed this on Tuesday, and this goes on the agenda on Friday. It's almost as if we're forced to make this vote because for some reason you didn't bring it to us on time. I'm not pleased, and I'll let my colleagues continue, and then I will close why I am not in support of a yes vote on this. I'm looking for a deferment, and I think everybody know housing, and especially affordable housing, is something that I champion throughout the state, throughout the nation. I really appreciate council's support through my tenure here on that, but I think that it's a serious matter when it comes to sensitivity, inclusion, and local participation. I'll move on and let my colleagues speak.
Okay,
and then
let's
I'll
get
close.
this in proper form. Is there a motion to approve the, approve the disposition?
I'll move to approve it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Okay, Commissioner Gray, then, you know what, let's hear questions. Let's do questions. Commissioner Gray, then Commissioner Sheehan.
Perfect. Brooke, will you, I'm going back to the numbers, as I always do. Would you pull that chart up, that page? With the costs?
I pulled it up, but Ed,
If Ed
I have it here, but I don't know how to get there yet.
There we go, perfect. Look, I recognize we have different numbers of units and a few different mixes, but I guess my question go down to other funding source. One is $5.5 million, the other's $1.8 million, the other's $8.6 million. What is that? Where does that come from, and what confidence did the committee have that those dollars will be there at the right time?
We have confidence that they'll be there based on them having reported this. This is through private investment as well as tax credits and anything else? Yeah, do you have anything else?
Let's introduce yourself.
Yeah, the sale of the tax credits.
If he's in a better position to respond to that, if he's representing Blue Sky.
This is Sean Wilson, CEO of Blue Sky.
Sean Wilson, Blue Sky Communities. The other sources of funding that we listed at $8,600,000 would generally consist of a state apartment incentive loan or sale loan from Florida Housing Finance Corporation, as well as the 4% tax credit equity through the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, okay. and a first mortgage.
So there is debt involved with that Blue
Yes,
Sky will take on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Because I was curious why such a difference between the three sponsors, but I think you just answered it. There's a component of debt involved in there.
Private debt is very important to Blue Sky Communities because we don't want 100% of the funding to come from the government. So we always bring as much private debt to the table as the project can support.
We're aligned with that. Good, thank you. Then another question. I guess when you look at total development costs, and again, I recognize we have different units, but sir, your total cost comes out to about $205,000 a unit, and Vescor's is about $160 a unit. Again, I recognize different number of units, different mix, but if the goal is to provide good, affordable housing, could you argue that by having a lower development cost, you can provide housing to a bigger group of folks? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, wouldn't it be cheaper, more available for the ultimate user, which is the residents, if the price was lower, $16,600 than $23,800? Because your costs won't they in turn transfer into higher rents?
Well, okay, so to answer that, the last question, no. The rent structure that Vescor would be proposing should be identical to Blue Sky's, because the rent structure is based on the rent schedule published by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation.
Okay. So the rents will be the same regardless of whether you or Vescor is behind it, or another group?
I believe so, sir, without having reviewed Vescor's application.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And we're competitors often, so I would make an educated guess that their rent structure is identical to ours.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Commissioner Sheehan.
And thank you, Mayor, and the question's already been answered, but I want to ask it again just to reiterate that a delay will affect Blue Sky's ability to apply for the low-income housing tax credits because it is due on November 27th of this year. So
that is correct, Commissioner. So the tax credit application, which is again is a competitive process, is due November 27th, and we don't expect another 4% similar round until this time next year.
So if we don't get a project in place, we'll lose out on the ability to apply for this funding this year.
We would miss this opportunity.
This opportunity, but there won't be next year.
Okay.
So and that goes again.
Hold on, Commissioner Hill.
Sure.
Let Commissioner Sheen finish.
Okay, and now, I know there is a concern over local participation, but wasn't there an WBE subcontractors commitment through this process as well?
They have committed as part of the purchase and sale agreement to the text that, let me go back to it, to meeting good faith efforts related to meeting 18 and 6, the city's diversity goals, and in addition, creating a community action plan to provide a roadmap to companies to be involved in the project, as well as the skills.
So if
yes, and it was not, and that's, yeah, and again, it was not included, that goal was not included within the initial opportunity solicitation document that was put out. They did agree to that as part of the purchase and sale agreement.
So this is not precluding local minority businesses from participating through the application. They will have opportunities as subcontractors to participate after the fact.
Correct.
Okay. And I just want to say that I've been here a while, and I've been here long enough to have seen us award some funding to some local groups that didn't perform, and then we had to pay them for their non-performance. So my concern is that if we've got a group that can do the work and they have applied appropriately, that we don't hold it up to try to award it to a lesser qualified group.
That's not true.
That's my concern, because I've seen it happen in the past. So I want to just, I got to look at the bottom line and the facts and figures here. I'm supporting it for that. I want to support the commissioner of the district, but I don't want to lose the ability to provide affordable housing over this, especially when there's a process. I too am concerned about the timing. I get mad when people bring me stuff on Tuesday when I got to vote on something the following Monday, but I will be supporting it because I think we need, we need to move forward and let this company apply for the housing credits that they want, that they need to get to provide this project.
Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you. Let me follow up to the same thinking. The deadline's coming up. November 27th is for the 4%. Do we have any idea when the 9% deadline is?
Linda?
I'm assuming that there's another 4% about a year from now. Is that correct?
Yes, and the 9%.
Come on up to the mic.
The 9% is actually for this current year is tomorrow, so it'll be next year at this time.
Same time. And so the 4% is also, again, a year from now?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, the 9%, as Brooke is reminding me, the 9% we did the local government preference. And so all of these rounds are extremely competitive, very competitive.
Right, so even if we delay and try to go after the 9% and put more money into it, there's no assurance that we actually will be able to get that. That's correct. And so the next 4% comes a year from now.
That's correct.
Okay. How does, I'll ask a difficult question, how does the national political environment affect this type of funding?
Well,
in other words, what happens with Congress comes in, what happens in?
It is state funding from Florida Housing Finance. So okay. I couldn't really say, but I do think that there might be, I don't know, maybe you have some more experience with the tax credits over the years. Do you think any political outcome?
The Sean Wilson Blue Sky Communities, the funding that we would be applying for, both the sale and the tax credits, is this fiscal year funding.
Correct.
So it is not subject to future legislative action.
Correct. So a delay in this moves it to next fiscal year, and we don't know what that political environment would be.
I'm sorry, yes. Then moving to next year, then we are at risk of future modifications due to legislative action.
Yes, I tend to agree with Commissioner Sheehan, is that we have this project moving forward and have strong assurances that it can move forward to help satisfy the affordable housing. A delay of this moves us a year from now with no real assurance that we have the same level of confidence as we have on this particular project. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Sheehan.
And I also wanted to ask about the 9%. Those didn't used to be as competitive as they used to, and there's a local process, but now Orange County is actually applying for those as well, whereas they didn't used to. So while we used to be the only game in town basically making the request, now we're competing with Orange County, and we might not be awarded that. Is that correct?
That is correct. So council recently awarded the local government preference to Amelia Court and Creative Village. The county did award local preference as well, and so now those two projects are essentially in a lottery to determine which one would move forward, barring any other legal matters that one of those proposers may raise.
Okay.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of city contribution, back to the chart, with the other companies, it shows a determined amount, while with Blue Skies, it shows between $1 and $2 million. What would determine the exact amount, and how much are we looking at between that 1 and 2?
Oops, sorry. That's everything.
That would, the major determinant there is the ultimate cost of construction. And we won't know that until we're in permitting. If we're able to build it for a little cheaper, then we would be requesting a little bit less from the city. If we're not, then we wanted to leave ourselves open to request up to $2 million. So,
okay, but that would be the limit, $2 million.
Yes, sir.
And that is also within the purchase and sale agreement, and our goal is to use mostly federal housing dollars to support that request.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could.
Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but while you have that up, Brooke, Mr. Wilson, if I could ask one more question, sir. I'm still struggling with the cost here. And I guess here's my question. Even if we throw the land cost into the VestCorp deal, right? And so you add $1.5 million, you're still at 17, let's call it 18. You're still, for 12 more units, you're adding an additional $5 million in cost. And I'm struggling with that difference. I can't speak to FLCDC, I don't know the subject. But VestCorp is a pro, they've done this before. You have too. Well, it seems like a pretty big disparity in cost. Can you educate me a bit on that? Well, because again, I'm saying if the rent that we're charging is roughly the same, seems to me you've got a disadvantage right away because your costs are much, much higher.
And again, without having a line-by-line comparison on VestCorp, I know that VestCorp typically builds out of wood frame, and we are proposing to build concrete. So that's probably a $10 or $15 per square foot differential right there. Also, we are proposing 48 permanent supportive housing units that are going to be managed by our very capable partner, Community and Assisted and Supported Living. And those units may cost a little bit more to build as well. So again, without a side-by-side comparison, it's hard to know, but of course all of our costs are thoroughly vetted by the underwriters, by the state of Florida, and I'd be happy to go line by line with staff and defend our budget at the proper time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, let's get us in proper order here. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Okay, then we'll go into discussion. I got Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner Gray.
Thank you again, Mayor.
Or you guys all?
Yeah, we're
okay. I got Commissioner Hill then.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand some of the angst, maybe council that have been here 20 years or greater states that they have seen this before. I kind of take slight offense to that, Commissioner Sheehan, when you said less qualified. I don't know what you mean less qualified. There's plenty of local MWBE and just local contractors that have the capacity and can perform this job. Because one failed 20 years ago don't mean that we should not give others opportunities. I'm not so against Blue Star doing it. I am in support of building local and minority contractors to build their capacity. If they cannot build in their own communities, I don't know where there's a possibility they're going to be able to build. When I see Blue Skies go out and create a LLC to do a joint venture with them versus to use our own local WMBE, our local contractors, we have a problem. And then when we say good faith, for the last 4 years we have been doing a lot of building, which I am so excited, and I think you know one of the biggest cheerleaders when we create this affordable housing stock. And I have trusted everyone that have came before me and said that they're going to make sure that there is WMBE participation and local employment within the footprint of these projects. Well, I'm leery now because it's not happening. It did not happen at Pendanas. It's not happening at Paramore Oaks. It is not happening. Once they leave this council and we make a vote and we do not have a solid contract, we are at the whims of their good faith. Mayor, I think it's time, even if it's not with this project here, but moving forward, it is time that we put a mentor-protege initiative together as we move forward with these projects. It almost sounds as if these are the last two projects, to a degree, that the city has control of. When I look down at Amelia Court, there's no local contractors or minority participation. I'm fighting every day for that. When I even look at the Emergence Center on UCF, Creative Village, there's no true minority participation. Folks, we got to do better. We are a progressive city, and it's now time for us to make sure as we are growing the city and putting these projects in place that we're all inclusive when it comes to local, not preference, but participation. When it comes to the employment stock, that folk aren't just coming to town and getting these contracts, going back home, their workforce is coming to our neighborhoods, and little children, and I'm gonna say it, little black and brown children are walking down the sidewalk and does not see any representation of them. Their fathers and mothers aren't working on these projects. 4% or 9%. It's great, but what about the morale of the community where these projects are built? When they're saying you can build them, but we can't. I can't support it. I cannot support it. My vote will be no. And I plead to my colleagues that you think about it. I grew up in an apartment with not having AC and adequate ventilation, not having my own bedrooms, living in deplorable conditions. So nobody can dispute the fact that I want these great and safe living conditions and neighborhoods for our community. But we are more than subcontractors. It's time that we start creating primes in the city of Orlando and giving them also a hand up, then throwing them a bone and say be satisfied as a sub. They have built this city. They're building this city. And staff, please, as we move forward, don't come to me in the 11th hour and ask me to support these type of initiatives. I don't know blue sky. The community don't know blue sky, no blue Cascade. But you ask me to have good faith, and then we go out into the community and have these charrettes with the community and promised all these promises, and there's no delivery. There's no delivery. So if we vote yes, blue sky, I am in support. Now, it's not about you. It's about the good faith effort. And I do take offense to you not reaching out to maybe some other local contractors and forming a joint venture and you creating your own joint venture. Something about it isn't right. And with that being said, I employ my colleagues in the city. As of this council date, we move forward with a more aggressive form of protege and mentorship when it comes to building these projects, and not saying they're not capable and they don't have the capacity. I just think they don't have a chance. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're not very often on the opposite sides of an issue. I actually can't think of a handful over the course of a number of years, but we are on this one, and I'm as sympathetic as I can be towards MWBE, from the blueprint to recently making it easier for people to qualify. So let me just say a couple things, and they're not in opposition to you, but they're just my point of view. And I think we need to encourage people on the MWBE process, but we also need to pick the best proposal. And the committee that evaluated these, Lori Botts, Brooke, Kevin Edmonds, Warren Henry, and Michelle McCrimmon, I couldn't trust 5 city employees more than I would trust those to decide what is non-political, the very best proposal that was in front of us. Brooke went through the reasons why they thought this was the best proposal. They've done a deeper dive than any of us have, I think, in evaluating the proposals, and that's one reason that I give total credence to Blue Sky being the best proposal. Brooke has mentioned to me also that we're going to try to do something a little bit different on Orange Center Boulevard South that may be able to incorporate your idea of mentor organizations and helping other local organizations be part of that process. So you can be helpful in terms of what language and how we go about doing that, but we're taking recognition of that. But I think it would be a real missed opportunity if we don't vote this out today and we're not able to make application for those tax credits. So I'm going to support this.
May I ask a question of Blue Sky, the CEO? Sir, please. As I said, there's many came before us, and especially me. My heart is, anybody that know me know this isn't just politicizing. I think all of us know that I've had the great support of our mayor, and I know, Mayor, that you are in support of all the initiatives that I'm speaking about. But Mayor, my thoughts after they leave the dais, Mayor, it's not happening, and I have to bring that to council's attention. And there's no way we can police them after the vote. The only thing we can do is take them on their word. And once again, I have been one of the biggest cheerleaders for all developers that came through to help build our most vulnerable communities that have been blighted, and we're rebuilding. I need you all to understand that the people are watching. They're not coming to the mayor, and they're not coming to my council members and telling them about how slighted they feel about each and every project. The community leaders on the west side of Orlando, they're coming to folk that look like me, and they're talking about it. And my hope is not to just continue to make these promises, you know, when it comes to economic wealth. I'm not talking about the housing piece, where we will put in people in great homes, but it takes more than that. You know, when you bring folk from other places and they're employed there, and you got folks right in the neighborhood that have been unemployed and that can do these jobs, that are finishers, that are masons, that are bricklayers, that have helped build this very city. We need to employ those folk. We need to employ them. We need to make a real valid effort when you're talking about good faith and subcontractors. They come in from other places. Yes, you meet your minority participation, but it's not folk that's local. And it's not folk where these projects are being brown, that are being done, that are black and brown. I'm not trying to go on a color thing, but it is what it is, and it's certain, you know? So I just want to know, are you truly committed? Are you truly committed to making sure that folk in this Mercy Drive, a very vulnerable community, are going to participate in not just living in the home, in the apartments that you build, but they truly are going to be employed?
Well, in all the materials that Blue Sky puts out and our brochure and our website and everything, I always tell people is our role is to help cities and counties achieve their goals in the area of affordable housing and related areas. So if it's a city goal and it's a city commitment, then it's a Blue Sky goal and it's a Blue Sky commitment. So to that extent, the answer is yes, we're committed.
I mean, it's put there. You know, I think, Mayor, as we move forward, we got to start putting zip codes in order. If there's a certain zip code that needs to be included in these projects that we're doing. Because to put good faith effort and say the participation goal, that's one thing. I see it has happened time after time where they meet their participation, but it really does not replicate to the community they're building it in. So if somewhere in the language as we move forward, we can do targeted zip codes also, that might be great.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye. Nay.
Those opposed? Okay, so I got that 5-1 with Commissioner Hill voting no. All right, where are we? Hearings, ordinances, first reading. Madam Clerk, you get to do some reading now. First read, hearings, ordinances, number 1.
Ordinance 2018-66, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for a portion of approximately 1,854.30 acres of land generally located west of Narcousie Road, north and east of Boggy Creek Road, and south of Lake Nona planned development, from conservation to urban village in part, and from urban village to conservation in part, on the city's official future land use maps, amending subarea policy S.38.1 to revise the development program, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. As opposed, motion carries. All right, let's go to ordinances on first read, number 1.
Ordinance 2018-63, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located north of Shader Road, east of Eunice Avenue, south of Bay Lake Road, and west of Hetherington Road, and comprised of 26.15 acres of land, more or less, and amending the city's boundary description, designating the property as the Planned Development Zoning District with the Wekiva Overlay District on the city's official zoning maps, providing a site plan and special land development regulations for the planned development, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permanent disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2. Are you back, Commissioner Rings?
I think that was an aye.
Okay. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-64, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to regional public facility designation and signage, approving an amendment to the master sign plan for the Dr. Phillips Center pursuant to Section 64.320 Orlando City Code, providing for conflicts, penalties, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right. Aye. Number 3.
Ordinance 2018-65, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located south of Indiana Avenue, west of I-4, north of Harmon Avenue, and east of Formosa Avenue, and comprised of 0.16 acres of land, more or less, and amending the city's boundary description, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as residential low intensity on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as the 1-2 family residential district with the traditional city and Wekiva overlay district R2A TW on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz, is there anyone from the public that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Aye.
It's a while.
Okay, make sure you've got Commissioner Ings voting yes on these last 3 ordinances. And the last one, number 4.
Ordinance 2018-67, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located west of Narcoossee Road, north and east of Boggy Creek Road, and south of the Lake Nona planned development, and comprised of 1,169.4 acres of land, more or less, as a planned development district with the Airport Noise Overlay District in part, and the planned development district with the Airport Noise Overlay District and the Resource Protection Overlay District in part, providing the development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. That concludes the official business of the Orlando City Council for today.